Welcome to the webinar. In this video we will be reviewing how to establish plan expectations and monitor funds on an ongoing basis. The following scenario will show how certain tasks can be completed using the fi360 toolkit, and will give step-by-step directions which are intended to get users familiar with the various features of the toolkit. So if you haven't checked out our other videos, I'd encourage you to do that within our Help Center. We have one that is normally useful to watch and listen to before this one regarding winning new business with the proposal generator. But in this case, we're going to assume that you went through the proposal process, you have a client that's signed on, and you want to create an investment policy statement to establish plan expectations, assign responsibilities, and apply any implementation and monitoring criteria for the investments. It's going to help you set up an automated process that's consistent, and you can present this to your client and they'll understand why funds are landing on the watch list or why they're passing. The main features of the toolkit will include the client cabinet, which is located on the main home page or under My Clients and Client Cabinet, as well as the user settings area and due diligence criteria, which is in the top navigation bar. So to get started, you'll want to access the IPS interface by clicking on the client cabinet. If you need to create a client, use the function on the right hand side. You'll need to type in a name, select a status. It's very, very important that you select the proper type for your client, as the IPS dynamically changes dependent on the type of client that you're using. A committee directed or participant directed plan will be drastically different than an individual investor. And it's important to set this up properly. Now, once you've created your client, you want to click on the client name. You'll access their client home. If it's a fresh client, you won't have a bunch of data periods, you'll just have one. But you want to access the most recent data period. As of the time recording this video, the most recent data period is December 31st, and you'll need to click on the edit link to access the client. You'll have some quick links here. We're interested most with the investment policy statement section. This is where you'll be able to, again, apply that watch list criteria, create the report, and do any of the background or basic information. So click on that investment policy statement section, and you'll see there are 4 different areas. First is our background area. This is again going to be different depending on the client type. In this case, since it's a retirement plan, you'll see things like 404C, QDIA, fiduciary advisor, safe harbor. If you want to change any of this background detail, which will go into the report, click on the edit link in the top right corner and you'll be able to change the details here. If you want to select peer groups, you can click on the edit link under investment options. Again, this is going to flow through into the final IPS report as well. The reason why we use peer groups is to provide some flexibility and independence, as opposed to having specific investments, which would then cause an IPS review again if any of the funds were removed from the plan. So you don't always want to be redoing the IPS over and over again. You want it flexible enough where you can change in and out of funds, but concrete enough and has a little bit of teeth to be enforced and be adhered to. The last thing you want to do is establish an IPS and not adhere to it. So you can select peer groups on this page. From the bottom up, if you're using any investment advisor, separate account manager, variable annuity sub-accounts, any of these options here, select that in the miscellaneous section. And then the main section we want to focus on is the selection and watch list criteria area. Implementation criteria is listed here, as well as monitoring and watch list criteria. The standard criteria in the toolkit is the fiduciary score less than or equal to 25. If we want to change that, we can do that under the settings area. Now, the watch list is going to be determined by this criteria. Any funds that have a score of 0 to 25 won't be on the watch list. Any funds that have a score of 26 to 100 will be on the watch list. 0 is the best score you can receive for investments, 100 is the worst, and it is a percentile rank. If you have any questions about the score, hop in our Help Center up here, take a look at our fiduciary score brochure and the detailed methodology document, and you'll be well on your way to learning more about that. Now, if we want to change this, maybe instead we want to have the fiduciary score less than or equal to 50, we want to open up the monitoring criteria a little bit, we can go under our settings area, user settings, and due diligence criteria. Once you're in here, you'll see some stock criteria that we have with the fiduciary score, and then some other custom criteria down at the bottom. If we want to create a new criteria, click on the right hand side, but in this case we already have the fiduciary score less than or equal to 50 selected. You can have up to 15 criterion selected in this due diligence criteria set. You can have multiple scores, performance, risk, expenses, operations, and you can also change the threshold in here. In this case, our criteria is already set, so we'll leave it as is. If you want to come back and edit that, just click on the edit link under factors and thresholds. You can also change things such as level of importance, whether it's required or optional criteria, the time period you're looking at, missing data treatment. All of that is done under the level of importance area, and I encourage you to explore that as well. But we're going to keep it short and simple and just change the criteria to the fiduciary score of less than or equal to 50. We're going to hop back in our client and apply this criteria now. My Clients and Client Cabinet, go under ABC Company again, click on that edit link to access the client, and then go to the investment policy statement section. We'll change our monitoring criteria. We'll put it to that fiduciary score less than or equal to 50 and save our section. Now, from the perspective of establishing criteria, think of it this way. Implementation criteria, you want that hurdle to be high. And the monitoring criteria, you probably don't want it to be higher than that implementation criteria. If a fund gets into a plan, you don't want to kick it out right away because it doesn't pass the monitoring criteria. So the implementation criteria is either equal to the monitoring criteria or the implementation criteria is higher than the monitoring criteria. And in this case, our implementation criteria is higher than the watch list criteria. So it's tougher to get in, and it's a little bit more lax once you get into the portfolio, since we don't want to keep removing funds and make it difficult on a plan sponsor, an individual investor, anyone who you're managing the investments for. Now, how do we see what the results are for this fiduciary score less than or equal to 50? Now that we changed it, when we generate our Word document by clicking on the report section right here, we'll click on it, it'll go up into the report queue, and we can open it up and take a look at it. Now, we already created one for convenience sake here, and we're going to open it in just a second. You'll see that within the Word document you have some basic information, and this is just going to be a basic foundation for the investment policy statement. You're probably going to make some changes to this, even if it's something as simple as font or justification or format or flow of the investment policy statement, but this will allow you to have some guidance and some basic information that will be useful. So we start off with an executive summary, just some basic information about the plan overall, if there are any safe harbors, 404C, fiduciary advisor, QDIA. Our investment options list, we saw that within the interface earlier, selected those peer groups, they'll be listed here. Purpose, so what is the purpose of the IPS? And in this case, again, it's a retirement plan, so we'll be referring to the investment committee. Defining various sections, statement of objectives, so what are the objectives of the plan? They're all listed out here. And then as we get down further, we have some more duties and responsibilities. So any service providers that may be associated with the account, you can list out duties and responsibilities. Asset class guidelines will be included as well for those peer groups that you've selected earlier. And then we get down to more of the teeth of the investment policy statement. So the implementation criteria. What does it take to get into the portfolio? In this case, it's a fiduciary score of less than or equal to 25. In order to stay off of the watch list, we will have the monitoring criteria of less than or equal to 50. And then lastly, we'll have the review section and then the signature section as well. So this will be pretty much all you need to have for the investment policy statement, but again, I'd encourage you to review it with compliance. This is subject to change, and you want to make sure that everything is okay if you need to go through a compliance department. So you can make changes after the fact. You're more than welcome to do that. And that's by using the Word document function on the right hand side of the toolkit. So now that this fiduciary score information has been established, what is it going to do? Is it going to have an effect on the information that we see in the toolkit? Yes, it will. And it will take place in the holdings area of the client. Now, we're assuming that you already have investments in the toolkit, and in this case we have mutual funds, and I'm just going to remove a couple of these to make it a little bit of a shorter report. So we'll only leave, I don't know, I'd say a handful of funds here. We're going to delete a few. But we'll run this report, and we'll run the monitoring report, and under this section, watch list notes, we'll see if funds pass or fail. So in this case, we only have one fund that doesn't meet that criteria of fiduciary score less than or equal to 50. If we want to run a report that shows that, we can go to the report template section area and click on the monitoring report. That will give us more details about the funds and whether or not they're on the watch list. And this is something that you can do on an ongoing basis. If you want to create a custom report template, you can also do that. So in this case, we're going to just generate a stock report. We'll do our monitoring report. And again, this will show the watch list decisions. It'll show much more detail about the funds as well. Things like returns, expenses, performance, a lot of different stuff that'll be valuable to you overall. And it's definitely something that you want to take advantage of and provide to your clients on a consistent basis. This justifies everything in the IPS and provides that concrete process for you to deliver to your clients. So we clicked on that monitoring report symbol, and now it's up in the report queue. We can open up that monitoring report, and we'll just briefly go through the monitoring report and see what it all means. Have our logo uploaded, color scheme, we can have disclosures as well. Table of contents, have some example executive commentary in here, performance summaries for markets, holding summary, and then we also have down further, which is going to be the main section that we want to take a look at as we scroll through all of this, our due diligence criteria area section. So this is where you can show the fiduciary score less than or equal to 50, and it will show which funds pass or fail that. So in this case, our large blend fund fails. And if we want to have more details about that, we can see it's actually failed for an extended period of time. So this would be something that would be an issue. You don't want to have an investment policy statement that has this criteria and then keep a fund for so long unless there's some exceptional reason. So this would be grounds for looking for a replacement. And if we look at the other funds, we'll see that they've been doing pretty well over time. So that's a good thing. So again, just a reminder, if you want to create a custom report template that includes just that section, you're more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, you can fall back on our monitoring report to look at more information about the funds themselves, but mainly the watch list criteria and the reasons why the funds are on the watch list. So that does it for this scenario. If you have any questions, feel free to send us an email, give us a call. You can reach us at tools@fi360.com. We'd be happy to help you out. That's why we're here, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Sign up for other webinars that are live, and you can ask questions on those under our webinars tab. You can look at 3 to 5 minute tutorials that are all video based, and again, you can send an email or call us from the help center as well. Thanks a lot.